life that all it asks and all it wants is the opportunity to appear. You are that opportunity, and so am I, and so it is. I'd like to welcome all of you to the Center for Spiritual Living. It is our opportunity to continue to broadcast to you from all over. We aren't just in Midtown right now. And we're very glad that you're here with us. We're glad you decided to join us this morning. I know your time is valuable and how you choose to spend it matters. So we're very grateful that you choose to be here with us. We are a center that honors all people. We respect all people, and we see the good in everything and everyone. We are determined to rise above any appearance of duality, any appearance of separation, and any appearances that would seem to separate us into us and them. So whoever you are, whatever your background, whatever your spiritual path, whatever your ethnicity, race, social or sexual orientation, all of those things are just externals, and they're important externals. We honor and celebrate you for them, and we welcome you regardless of who you are. I'm very grateful to know and grateful to say that we are we say honor and respect because underneath and behind it all, we know who you are. We know you're an expression of the divine. We know you are God's opportunity to be something unique and special and wonderful. And that uniqueness is the very peak of oneness. Oneness is not about sameness. We teach oneness here all the time. We talk about oneness. Oneness does not mean we all look the same, act the same, or are the same, but it means underneath and behind it all, we come from the same source, and we are still a part of that same source. So we're very excited to be able to say this, to express it, and to continue to hold this truth in the midst of the world in which we live. So welcome, we're glad you're here, and we invite you then to know a little more about who we are by what we believe. And we share this and we read this each week so that we can look at and share with you what we believe, but also to give you an opportunity to listen and look at it and decide, do I believe any of this or not? And if so, what parts do I need to work more on, and what parts are automatic in me? So here we go. I'll read it aloud and you'll see it on the screen as well. I believe in one God, one absolute power and first cause to all things. I believe that this power is perfect love, and it creates out of a desire to express love. I believe all thought is creative, and how I choose to think creates my personal experience. I believe in the unity of all life and the immortality of the individual soul forever unfolding. I believe in the eternal goodness, the eternal loving kindness, and the eternal givingness of God to all. And so it is. And so we move now into a moment in which one of our spiritual mind practitioners, science of mind practitioners, I guess I should say, will take the screen and will share with you some good ideas, some readings, perhaps, and then will lead us in a spiritual mind treatment, which is in a form of affirmative prayer. It is what we practice, it's what we teach. It's kind of the unique style that Science of Mind brought to the world almost 100 years ago now, as we brought it forward as a scientifically based, testable way to do prayer and to see and to recognize and to affirm that it works. Our practitioners are licensed to do this kind of work for other people as well as themselves. So as we get further into the celebration towards the end, some names and numbers will show up on the chat if you wish to reach out and have some of this kind of work for yourself individually. So right now, I would like to introduce to you one of our practitioners who's been around this teaching as long as I have, Judy Ailey. She doesn't look like it, but she has.
All right. Well, good morning, everybody. Welcome. I'm coming to you live from Atlanta, Georgia, and as Bob said, other places around. The theme for this month is mindfulness for Mavericks. And today is the last Sunday of June. What happened to June? Man, the time just feels like it's flying by. And in other ways, it seems like it's going very slowly. But anyway, the theme for today is mindful action. And the affirmation for today is, every action I take emerges from knowing my oneness with all and serves the highest good. When I think about mindful actions, I am reminded that as we are living this teaching in our lives, that we are hopefully living in a state of being awake and being aware. That we are awake and aware to the nudging or the inspiration of spirit to take certain actions in our lives. And that as we respond to this spiritual nudging, that it is a way that we let spirit express through us in the world. So I thought, well, how do we get in touch and pay attention to this inspiration or this nudging that comes from the spirit that we're connected with? I think that one of the ways to practice being present in all of our daily activities, even in the most mundane things, whether it's pulling weeds out in the garden or folding laundry or cleaning up the kitchen, whatever it is, to practice being present means to be aware of your oneness with spirit at all times. And if we do this, I think there's often a spiritual impulse or a nudging from spirit that we can notice if we pay attention. Some may say that this comes from our intuition to take certain actions, and I can agree with that. But for me, mindful action is about responding and taking action that comes from the knowledge of my oneness with spirit. And sometimes following up with action takes courage. It might require that I come out of my comfort zone to do something that's new or a little bit different than what I'm used to doing. If we take action and live our lives from that interconnection of spirit, we will be guided to express what is uniquely ours to express. So I think part of our job is to keep those channels open, that channel that is always our connection with spirit. So practice being aware in the simple tasks. And as we are mindful of our connection to the divine, right and perfect action will follow. One thing that I was told early on in this teaching is that you need to treat and move your feet. Well, what does that mean? Well, we use, as Dr. Bob was saying, we use affirmative prayer or spiritual mind treatment here as the way to bring things into our lives or the lives of others that we wish to experience, whether it's something on the material plane, a new job, a new relationship, or if it's something less tangible, such as inner peace or clarity about a situation. We offer our affirmative prayer or spiritual mind treatment, and then many times we need to take action. But it's not just any kind of action, it's mindful action. Action that is inspired by our oneness with spirit. Action that is inspired by the very affirmative prayer that we have offered. So for me, this is what mindful action is about in this teaching. So yes, treat and move your feet, but be sure that the actions that you take are inspired and clearly coming from that awake place where you know that you're acting from your oneness with spirit. I'm going to end this part with a quote from Ernest Holmes, the founder of this teaching. It's from the Science of Mind textbook from the section of how to use it. Here's what he says. It's really a great affirmation. Spirit animates everything that I do, say, or think. Ideas come to me daily, and these ideas are divine ideas. They direct me and sustain me without effort. I am continuously directed. I am compelled to do the right thing at the right time, to say the right word at the right time, and to follow the right course of action at all times. All right. So from that, we're going to move into our time of spiritual mind treatment. So if you just get comfortable in your, wherever you are, in your little closet or your chair or your porch or wherever you might be. And let us just know this together. I know that there is one power, one presence, one light, one life, and one love. That this presence and this power is everywhere, present all around me, through me. And please accept this for yourself in the first person. It expresses through me and as me in all of life. As I know my connection and my oneness with spirit, I know that at the heart of who I am is a pure, perfect, whole being that is here in this world to express love, to express goodness of every kind, to have a body that functions perfectly with great vitality and energy, a person, a soul, a heart that has a purpose and a meaning in this life. So I just affirm that this is the truth of who I am, and that as I go into this deep inner space of connection and of oneness and of wholeness, I know that the truth of me is that all is well, that all is well in my life in every aspect, that I am loved and cherished by this presence that created me to express the best of who I am, to expand my life in every good way. I affirm that the truth of me is that I express vibrant, alive health. I know that my life is full of abundance and great financial well-being. I affirm that I have loving relationships in my life that support me and that allow me to express love into the world. I know that I am always connected to this divine presence that fills me with ideas and purpose and clarity about the truth of who I am. I turn away from any ideas or the appearance of anything less than this. If I am faced with a health problem, if I am faced with losing the job and feeling lack or limitation or worry about money, if I am faced with loss of any kind, of loneliness, of sadness, of worry and fear in the midst of all that is going on around in the world around me, I just say no to all of that. And instead I replace it and know instead the truth. The truth is that all is well in my life, that behind the appearance of any of these things, that there is a power and a presence that can handle any situation that is in my life or that comes to me, that this power and this presence is greater than any of these things or the appearance of these things in my life. I know that at the heart of me, that I am whole, perfect, complete, and that I am a loving expression of this power in the world. I am so grateful for knowing this. I allow this presence to flow through my life in every aspect. It is with great thanksgiving that I release this treatment now, knowing that every single word of it is the truth for me right now. So I release this, and so it is. All right. So now we're going to have some music. This music is by Natalie Cole. It was recorded in 1969, and it's called Take a Look. So enjoy this with me. Bye, everybody.
We've got to tell all our children that love is the way. Some of that song is painful to watch, perhaps, or painful to think about the words. Look in the mirror, but don't look too close, she says, because what you might see is the thing you dislike the most. That's my words, hers are hate. What we teach and what we say in this teaching again and again and again, what you're looking at, you're looking with. And you all know you've had the experience of someone that just irritates the daylights out of you as soon as you see them and talk to them. It doesn't matter what they've done or said. You don't have any reason to dislike them, but something inside of you is stirred up and it's gone all negative on you. And you find yourself wanting to say things to them that you have no reason to. But if you look in that mirror and you look a little closer, you discover that perhaps the thing you dislike the most about that person or those persons is something you see in yourself that you don't like. See, we live and work here in a teaching of oneness. The Center for Spiritual Living is here because some founders a few years ago, quite a few years ago actually, started this teaching here in Atlanta and began to bring the idea forward in a brand new way that said there's only one power, and that power is love, that power is light, that power is life, and that power is in everyone and for everyone. And at the time we started teaching this around here, it was the first time. Some of this had been taught in this way. Came in on the heels of when this song was done, the Civil Rights Movement. And some of it goes back even before then. The teaching's been around for a very long time, since way back in, 1926, 1924, and in some ways earlier than that. So we begin to bring this idea forward, and so the question becomes, and has become, that in this time of great transformation and change, and we live in a world right now there where the transformation is happening, and it's the thing we predicted and talked about over the years, that a time would come when many of our foundational ideas and structures within our culture would come unraveled and would open up to something new, and that's what's happening. You know, I mean, it's really sunk into me about 2 weeks ago that what we're going through now is not just a temporary reprise from what had been going on, and we'll go back to that in a few weeks whenever the virus calms down and whatever. Many business will be gone. The whole structure of the economy will have shifted. The whole way in which we deal with each other, the values that we have for family, for children, for sharing, would have skyrocketed and become so much more front burner than they were before, when we were rushing around trying to get to the next appointment or do the next busy thing or get to the next place we want to do something. Whereas now, every afternoon about 5 o'clock, the parking lot in front of my apartment fills up with dads and daughters and mothers and sons out playing and connecting and participating, and that's never happened before. And talking to each other over a 6-foot distance of different families sharing. That value system has suddenly come to the front, and we've begun to realize what really matters to us. This is a transformational time on so many levels, and we don't yet know what all that means. So we're not going back to any kind of normal, what we would call normal. We're going forward to a new way of being together on this planet, all over the planet, and particularly right now for us in this country, as we look to what's coming up and what's coming next. But there's some things that never change. And one of the things this center is committed and dedicated to is bringing the universal truth that is forever, that is unchanging. And standing in it and holding it and teaching it and perpetuating it, so that all of us can realize that underneath and behind all of this shift and change, there are some basic ideas and some basic truths that we can count on and depend on that have not changed. And we do that largely, you already heard it when we read our Declaration of Principles, excuse me. But going forward, I want to just share some basic things before we get to the rest of today's focus and talk. We are based in the idea of oneness, that there's one energy, one power, one life, one spirit, and that one, from a spiritual standpoint, is called God, it's called spirit, it's called universal. We have all sorts of names and words for it. From a scientific standpoint, it's a unified universal field of energy and information. And that's very concrete and real and happening. And it's so real that it shows up in our energy, it shows up in our thoughts, it shows up in our minds. A sharing of energy and information happens every time you listen. Right now, it's happening. I'm talking to you and you're hearing. My energy and my information is being passed along, and you're translating that through your own and adding to it and taking away from it and saying this is true, this isn't. So we're each building these centers for energy and information as we are living together in this one power. Whoever we are, and this just is true for us, but it's true for all human beings. No matter how disparate, far apart, and different they may seem from you at any given time, or from me. And sometimes I look at folks and say, that's really my brother and my sister, okay. And sometimes it's harder than others. But the truth is, underneath and behind, we're coming from the same source. And so a goal of this teaching is for us to learn to see that in everybody. At least to be committed to seeing it, whether it's obvious or not. To see the one, to see the good. And that's what love's all about. And the next big idea that we have is because there's only one energy, one power, one universal field of energy and information, then you and I are part of it. We like to say sometimes that, I'm a part of it and it's all of me. It being spirit, it being the one universal field. We are not separate from it in any way. I always am amused when people talk about America or other places or anywhere that God is not. If God weren't present, existence would stop, because the infinite power that God is what keeps it all alive and moving in every moment. It's in the energy and information that runs everything. So you and I are individual expressions, individual examples, individual beingness of that one power, that one God. But if you spend a little time meditating on that and thinking about it, that's a pretty big idea. Because what that means is if I get an idea that comes out of this, my soul, my beingness, my knowingness about life, that's God talking inside of me, as me. If I've got something I'm passionate about, a change I want to see, or something I want to participate in or be part of, that spirit moving through me, that's energy and information wanting to express itself in some shape or form. And this teaching is all about learning to tap into that, awaken to it, because it's always there, get our bloated nothingness out of the way, as Emerson said, so the divine circuits can flow through us. And most of that bloated nothingness is nonsense. It's nonsense ideas that there is separation and duality, that there's a place of in and a place of out. This is a place of good and a place of bad. And that everything falls in one side of that or the other. And the truth is, there's a oneness that's big enough to encompass all of it, which is how we're able to keep growing through it. How we can then suddenly have surface within our culture what has been understood as good and bad for such a long time, in racism, in fear about viruses, and all of these, and in the effect of viruses on our bodies. All of this stuff that shows up is simply the appearance of two-ness, good and bad, right and wrong, and being revealed in order to be changed, so we can see beyond it and see deeper. And so we can move from color blindness to color celebration. That's why we say, we don't simply accept and honor everybody that shows up in this center. We celebrate you for who you are, for your uniqueness. God help me if I stopped seeing color. Everything black and white? No, thank you. Every culture the same? No, thank you. Every person missing their unique and beautiful, powerful, wonderful ways of being, and their shapes and their bodies looking the way they look, and everything about us? I don't want to go there. I don't want to be there. I don't want to live there. But I do not also want to live into a place where I'm judging everything that's different from me as if there's something wrong with it. So we're lifting ourselves into a different place where that's concerned. So that's what our teaching is about. We move into this space. We learn to recognize ideas and thoughts within us that don't match the deeper truth of what God's about and what we're about. And then we learn how to release it. We learn how to change our thinking and change our lives accordingly. Right now, there's a huge amount of fear, and it's very real around prosperity and around how are people going to get by. 50 million people in our country unemployed. I mean, we've never faced this sort of thing before. It's very easy to fall into fear that, oh my gosh, there won't be anything for me. There won't be enough. What we know is that the very energy and power in which I live and move and have my being is that which fuels the universe. It's that which fuels the sun, the moons, and all of the other universes. It is that which provides this rich, wonderful planet on which we live, which can sustain us if we stop hoarding it and abusing it. It can continue to grow and sustain us. And with all of the job losses that are very real, there is never a loss of prosperity. Fisher, I think his name was, you said, I've been poor. I mean, no, I've had money, I've been without money, but I've never been poor. And I would say the same thing. There've been times in my life when I had nothing money-wise. What was in my car and just enough gas to get to the next gas station. And those are some of the richest times in my life. Now, I don't want to go back to that, and I'm not suggesting I will, or you should, but we've got to get the idea that prosperity is bigger than what appears on the outside in our bank accounts and in our houses and in those external images of what it's about. We go to a deeper place, a richer place within us that says prosperity is a spiritual given. It's a given in this infinite energy and information field in which we live and move and have our being. And we simply open ourselves to allow that to flow through us as we embrace more good and greater good in our lives. And as we give to the greater good through, so that we keep that flow going and we keep it moving. So that's what we're about. We're about offering a bigger and greater idea. When we anchor in the oneness, when we anchor in the truth of who we are, where we are, and when we practice listening within ourselves and listening to the truth that we see and feel around us, when we listen and learn to practice and recognize our oneness, we are so connected with everything. We inhale because the plant has exhaled. We exhale so that the plant can inhale. All of the things on the planet are interactive and interconnected. Everything has a rhythm, and it's about moving in that rhythm. You and I and all of us. And now we're in this great opportunity to correct a whole lot of nonsense as we move into the oneness. And here's where today's talk really comes into focus. Because the idea is, the truth is, there's a great power in understanding all of this, in moving in great depth of our understanding, spending time in treatment and going within in spiritual mind treatment and going within in meditation. We often say that meditation is breathing in spiritually, and spiritual mind treatment or prayer is breathing out. And we breathe it in and we breathe it out, and we're in the rhythm and flow of that. But there's another aspect to it. And that aspect is all about faith and works. Because you see, the spiritual mind treatment and the meditation is all about faith. That's living in a place where the unseen is known and real for us in a real powerful way. But by itself, it's not enough. Because out of that comes, usually, if we listen for it, a guidance, a direction, a push towards something to do. That's what Judy introduced, and I thank you for that, Judy. Treat and move your feet. And the foot moving for each of us may be very different. Some of our teen leadership over the last few months nationally, our national teens leaders have been out marching in peaceful protest, holding up signs saying Black Lives Matter, because they felt compelled from within and to stand and speak in that voice, in that place. Others have been in communication and conversations around that issue. Others feel like my holding the truth and knowing the truth of that and standing in treatment is powerful enough, and I trust that it will change the world. And if that's yours to do. Every one of us has an individually different idea of what our moving the feet is about. This is why, as a center, as a group, we don't pick this one or that one thing to do or to support. We don't go after this political or that political stand. We don't go after this social issue or that social issue and say, this is the one we're going to focus on, because it's different for all of us. And why take our energies into one when we have this array of people here who can put your energy into all of the various issues and thoughts that you have that matter? Because we're all part of them in different places in different ways. Part of my moving my feet is coming to understand that having grown up in the South, having become convinced and working very hard to reveal my own prejudice, my own entitlement, my own white privilege, that it ain't all done yet. And it shows up sometimes in ways that I don't even recognize, and other people I have in my life who are kind enough to say, Bob, think about what you just said. And I have to step back and go, oh yeah. Oh yeah. My action is coming to a cleaner expression of the truth outside of social bias and outside of racial bias. And that's a big job right now. And I'm so grateful that we have this all up in our faces. I am sorry people are being hurt by it. I am joyful that people are finally looking at it and waking up. And it brings up fear, and it brings up defensiveness, and none of us want to admit that we are anything but wonderful and perfect, because that's underneath the truth. But in our place in the world, we've all been part of racism. Not by intention, not by desire, not even by meanness or desire to hurt. But when we begin to recognize it is built into the system we were born into, we can begin to look at how it's affected us and shift and move way beyond it. If that's what you're called to do. If not, you've got a different path. It's so fascinating the way this has all come together and been coordinated. So it's about coming together in clarity and faith. Ernest Holmes said, work without vision is drudgery, but vision without work is self-deception. A well-balanced person can walk with his head in the clouds or her head in the clouds and still feel her feet solidly planted on the ground. Faith and work are ineffective when separated. And I would say they're non-existent when separated. Because work that isn't based out of a real faith in what you're doing really becomes ineffective in the long run. And faith without some work is just noise and doesn't really mean anything to do with faith. So that's where we are, and that's what we're building, and that's what we're doing. And that's why this center is here and will continue to be here over and over and over time. One of the people that is a real hero for many of us, for many people, is Baynard Ruskin. Some of you may know that name, some of you may not. I didn't until a while back, but once I did and began to read and study about him, I went, wow. He met Martin Luther King in the early 50s. And in 1955, he and Martin Luther King together really started working on this whole idea of nonviolent communication and how to turn that into a movement. he later became an organizer for the whole movement that Martin Luther King was involved in, so that for the March on Washington in 1993, where the famous "I Have a Dream" speech is delivered, Baynard was the one who organized, brought all the pieces together to make that possible to happen. He was the chief organizer for the whole thing. Later on, when movements shifted and changed, when things moved, when some of us moved our energies toward the gay rights movement and the opportunity for gay people to have equal rights, LGBTQ plus more, we have the whole letters behind it. The beauty of that is eventually that alphabet soup is going to get so long, we're just going to go back to calling us people, which will be really nice. We're not there yet, but we'll get there. And he was a shaker mover in the early days of that movement and in helping to organize and bring it forward in a very powerful way. So he moved his feet. He had deep faith in what he was doing. And he moved his feet by taking action in those arenas. That was his path. It may not be yours. I'm not suggesting we as a group should jump on any of those bandwagons. But I am suggesting that if one of those resonates in your heart and pulls you towards something greater, say yes. Let it move through you, because it will bring you greater joy than you've ever imagined. Greater peace than you knew was possible. And a love that expands and grows and fills you and everything and everyone around you in a way that is absolutely transformative. And you deserve that. And the world deserves it. Because you're wonderful, so am I, and so it is. So if you will, join me a few moments in silence and in meditation. I'm going to do this, just a bit of a guided quietness. So just take a few minutes and let this soak in and sink in. Allow yourself to breathe first. Breathing all the way in and all the way out very gently. And just notice it, be aware of it. There's a universal sound that has all of the sound of the universe in it. It's the Om. Whisper it as you breathe. Om. Om. Just allow that word, that sound, in the quietness of your mind to draw in and to awaken a brighter light within you. And allow your mind to, your heart, the feelings, to float back over the thoughts and feelings you've had as you've listened to this talk. Has there been a purpose or an action or a thought that has bubbled up for you, that has pushed you toward greater living and greater life? Something that says, yeah, that's for me, or maybe, I don't really think that's for me, but I can't turn away from it either. Just breathe into it. Whisper the Om into the thought, the idea. And let the universal oneness that is you, that you are within, that you are expressing, guide you. So I know there's one power, one light, one life. It is that in which we all live, move, have our being. It is the source of all life. It is love itself. It is the love that connects all things. The breathing in to the breathing out. The positive to the negative flow of energy. All of those things. Simply love expressing. And so I welcome into my heart, and I invite you to do the same, to welcome into your heart a bigger, louder, broader flow of that love. Imagine for a moment the times that you felt the most loved, and now multiply that into infinity, because that's how much you're loved. That's how much all human beings and all of creation is loved. And release any ideas of playing small. Any thoughts of not being smart enough, big enough, good enough, big enough, broad enough, brave enough. Simply allow that love that is divine and within you to expand and express itself through you in any way that you are open to and that you feel is yours to do. We stand in such gratitude that we live in this universe, into this kind of world that responds according to our beliefs, that responds according to our thoughts. And in this gratitude, I release this now, knowing these thoughts and ideas are now the mind of God. They are my mind, and I am using God's mind, so they are God's mind as well. Knowing that, I release this, I let it be, and so it is. And here now, the very favorite song from Teen Camp.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Reverend Cynthia McCarthy, and I serve on the board of trustees for CSL Midtown. It's my pleasure to be doing the Prosperity Talk and announcements this morning for you. So since we are meeting online, we are sort of not passing baskets anymore. So we're doing our virtual giving. And I want to take a moment to thank everyone, because I feel like this congregation and our group is really applying the principles that we know to be true about affirmation, about abundance and prosperity. And we are all giving, and it is a wonderful thing to see. And we are all truly grateful for that. I'll put in the chat box here all the various ways that you can give. You can do it directly through our website. We have a new donation automatic withdrawal thing called Realm. It is fantastic. I signed up for it. So easy. It takes like a minute and a half, and you just get your automatic email every month. It's fantastic to let you know that your donation went through. You can still do snail mail. The address is up there in your chat box. So thank you again for all of the giving, and let's do our affirmation for prosperity. So I invite you to take these words into your heart. We know that our words are so important, and let's declare this for ourselves. I live in a universe of abundance. As I freely and joyfully give, I join in the divine flow, and all that I share with life returns to me multiplied abundantly. And so it is. So before I dive into the announcements, this is sort of part of the announcements, I want to take a minute to talk a bit about the spiritual empowerment sessions that we have during the week that Dr. Bob does for us. And the reason I want to tell you guys about it is when you find something really amazing for your spiritual practice and your spiritual journey, you want to tell everyone about it. And these sessions have really been affecting my life in a great way. So that's why I want to tell you about it. They are during the week. They're Tuesdays at noon and Thursdays at 6 p.m. And what you do is you just log on to the Zoom just like you did this morning. It's the exact same link and the exact same password. And if you forget it or suddenly don't know what it is, you can find it on our website, cslmidtown.org. You can find it in the emails usually that Bob sends every week. And we also promote it on Facebook. So if you're on Facebook, you could pop on there and find it there. It's super casual. You just come as you are, wherever you're doing in the middle of the day, you just pop on. And we spend about the first 10 minutes just checking in with each other. These are some tumultuous times that we're going through. Lots of fears, things that are going on with COVID and the lockdowns and that we had, and protests, and just sometimes we're sharing good, positive things that are going on, but we check in with each other, and we take this moment to stop and consider how we're feeling. And more importantly, we talk about how we want to feel. And so it causes like this shift in our focus. And it's just a matter of minutes. And it takes us to the truth of who we are. Dr. Bob is amazing at this. You see this every week in his talks, but imagine having this in like this little small group session. It's fantastic. You feel connected. You feel like you're part of a community, and we're here to support each other. So then when we wrap up, Dr. Bob does an amazing, beautiful affirmative prayer. He can cater it to specific requests if you have them. And the end result of this, and this is my point, is you feel incredible afterwards. It's as if you were holding your breath during the day or holding tension in your body and you didn't even realize it. But then you take this moment to focus on yourself, to really absorb an affirmative prayer, spiritual mind treatment for yourself. And it's like you're so relaxed and you feel so good. So that's what I want to share with you. That's what I want everyone to be able to experience. So I invite you to pop in Tuesdays at noon, Thursdays at 6 p.m. So that's my spiel on that, my little commercial for the spiritual empowerment sessions. And then let's do the rest of the announcements. What do we got going on? Oh, next month, new theme, Unchained Spirituality. Next Sundays is Free at Last. Ooh, that's going to be fantastic. Looking forward to that. Again, there's the Zoom meeting and the information about the spiritual empowerment sessions. We do have that new contribution system. You guys check it out. It is so easy if you haven't signed up yet. So simple. You don't even have to think about it anymore. Our practitioners put their information, in some of them, in the chat box. You can also find their information, I believe, on our website, tells about them. It's an amazing opportunity if you need prayer work. There's the website information. And I think that's just about it. Dr. Bob?
Thank you. So, can you see me? I seem to have disappeared from the screen. All right, I'm still there. Good, thank you. Everyone, I just wanted to add to that, that in the next few days, you'll be seeing some announcements about the next seminar I'm going to offer. As we are moving into the new normal, we know that by our own consciousness and our own choices, we create what we want our lives to be. So this will be a series of about 4 weeks where we're going to look at and utilize tools to actually create in our awareness and in our consciousness, what do we want our new normal to be? What are the values that we've discovered that we want to keep? What are the ones we want to let go? And how do we want to see that come into shape and form? So we're going to use the tools of this teaching. We're going to use a couple of books that help us kind of gather the ideas to figure out what is it that matters to me the most, so that we can bring that forward. So look forward to that in the newsletter and on the website. So let's close out. I have nothing more to say at this point. So join me, if you will, in our closing affirmation. I leave this place now knowing something better than I knew before. I go forth into the world with a heart full of love and a mind full of good sense. I look at the world in a greater way, knowing that I have within me everything I need to create the life I desire. I give thanks for this understanding, and I am grateful for the spirit of life that lives through me. And so it is. Thank you.